Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I'm gonna try 10 minutes on uploading to YouTube, and if it works out perfectly, great. We'll try a little bit longer next time. All right. What are we going to do now, Captain? Kayla asked. Yeah, what's the plan? Samantha joined in. Chicken Legs McGraw will win it for them now, and we'll never get to go to Super Adventure. Is there anyone in our class who can beat him? There is, Rishi answered. Oh, good, I thought, until I heard him continue. Rodney's the captain. He'll have to beat him. They all looked relieved, but I instantly remembered my past running events. Something always seemed to go wrong. I couldn't be counted on to win. Rodney, Greg asked, you all right? Of course he is, Rishi answered. I have a plan, I announced, and it hit me just as Greg snapped me out of my trip down misery lane. You see, he has wait, Rishi asked. We already know you're going to win the 100-yard dash for us. Why do we need a plan? You said it'd be close, I explained. Well, I have a way to win the tug of war for sure, and I've done the math. We just have to win one of the last two events to win field day. That's my captain, Jessica said. Rodney, I have never doubted you, Rishi explained, but there's no way we can beat Deering's class in the tug of war. They're twice our size, especially with Josh pulling Anchorman. Shh, keep it down. Toby is right over there. Unless you want Josh to know the plan, don't let him hear what you're saying. Everyone come over here. All right. They crowded in. Well, you know what happens if we let go of the rope at the same time? I asked. Yeah, Kayla said. They'll go flying, but the rope will go with them and they'll win. No, Kayla, they won't win. I've been looking at how far the rope must travel for it to cross the line for a victory. If they all fall, they'll pull it, but it won't go beyond the line. We just pick it up and yank it back. They'll be so shocked, most of them will let go, and those who don't will go for a little ride. After a few more, you know that's cheating, right? But that's not how you play tug of war. After a few more explanations, my blue team knew what to do. As the field day competitions resumed, the kids in white were laughing and smiling. With Dave out of the way, they were sure they were heading to Super Adventure. Armed with my plan, I wasn't sweating it. We lifted the thick brown rope. I was third from the front behind Rishi and an unsuspecting Toby. Jessica was right behind me, and Slim was in the back with Greg. Mrs. Deering's class dropped their smiles and looked at us with a grim, determined faces. I could see Josh way at the end, Anchorman. He looked ready to pull us over all by himself. I noticed that Mrs. Lutzkrut had come over to watch the big event. When I blow the whistle, begin pulling, but not until then, Mr. Ball, the gym teacher, announced. Many of us were already yanking a bit. The rope was taut. I felt alive and ready. The whistle blared and the rope lurched forward. I could feel it slide in my hands and my feet began to give away. I wanted to wait a couple of seconds, but we were being pulled hard and I didn't think we could last. No! I shouted. Everyone in our class, except Toby, let go of the rope. The result was immediate and impressive. Toby, still holding on, went flying through the air. The white shirts went down fast and hard. I heard a loud oof from many of them, and true to my prediction, the rope hadn't gone far enough. Now! I shouted again. We all grabbed the rope and yanked. Most of Miss Deering's class had let go, and it was easy as pie to pull it back over our line. We all cheered. We had won field day and were so busy dancing around yelling it took a few minutes to hear Mrs. Lutzkrut shrieking above the commotion. Gradually, we stopped cheering and stood silent, looking at her. Letting go of the rope is not allowed in tug of war, she was shouting, making sure Mr. Ball and two other students in particular could hear. It's dangerous, Rodney. I distinctly heard you yell now, right before the rope went flying. This was all your idea, and now look what you did. I hope Josh and Toby weren't hurt by your actions. At this, I looked over at the white team. They were a sad sight, a large pile of bodies with one boy buried at the bottom. With their own force, they must have fallen backward onto Josh. I could see his face full of pain, rage, and embarrassment. His eyeballs were flaming red and staring my way. Then I saw another unwelcome sight. Toby had flown a good 10 feet and landed in one puddle left over from last week's rain. He too was glaring directly at me through a brown, smeared face. Was this some kind of joke on me and Josh? He yelled. My dumb plan had reawakened the beasts. Josh was pushing people off of him, looking ready to kill someone. Toby was walking over to him, gripped by a surging sense of panic. I almost didn't hear Mr. Ball add, "Thank you, Mrs. Lutzcraft, for being such an objective witness. But I'm afraid this means your class is disqualified in the tug of war." The white team cheered. Rishi threw himself to the ground in dismay. Most of my classmates couldn't believe that their own teacher had ruined it for him. I don't think I would cheat for you, but you guys would never do something like that. Had ruined it for them, but they had also given me dirty looks, blaming me for their loss, because it was his idea. Mrs. Lutzcraft stared in my direction and suddenly stuck out her tongue. That's funny. Look! I screamed, but it was too late. She had turned around. Kayla muttered, "Nice going, Captain," but it was too late. Oh. A group of downcast blue shirts wandered off, clearly giving me the cold shoulder. Slim said, "Don't feel bad. Once you win the 100-yard dash, they'll forgive you." I wandered over to the starting line, no longer worrying about losing the tug of war or failing as captain or even Mrs. Lutzcraft. What seemed so important just moments ago was nothing now. I had bigger problems. Toby was talking to Josh and pointing at me. Josh turned my way. All he needed was horns and he would have looked like a bull ready to charge. And that's just what he did. With a savage yell, Josh flung Toby to the side and began running straight at me. I looked around. There was only one person close to me. It was Mrs. Lutzcraft. And believe it or not, I was relieved to see her. "Mrs. Lutzcraft, look! Josh is running this way! He's going to kill me! Mrs. Lutzcraft!" If she heard me, she didn't respond. I looked up at her in shock, just as Mr. Ball fired the pistol to start the race. Instead of waiting around for Josh to trample me, I took off running. I ran like my life depended on it, which it probably did. I ran faster than I ever had before. My panicked, maniacal, fear-driven run was so fast that I escaped Josh and dusted all the competition, including Chicken Legs McGraw. At the other side of the 100 yards, I was still running on instinct, like a rabbit escaping a fox. And I didn't really understand why I was met by a white ribbon hitting me in the chest, and why Mr. Feebletop was raising my hand into the air, and why Mr. Ball was yelling, "Blue wins!" and why Mrs. Lutzcraft was pulling out clumps of hair, and why every blue-clad student was encircling me and cheering. I had won field day without even knowing it. Chapter 25. I overhear a plot. Stay tuned.